Welcome to Indie Boss Talk with your host, Melissa Ramsey.
Also known as AvaBella all over the interwebs.
If you are an entrepreneur, innovator, believer, or dreamer, then this is the show for you. Stay tuned for a power-packed podcast from the mind of artist, author, musicpreneur, Indie Boss.
And she's also our mommy. Here's Indie Boss Talk.
Welcome to the Indie Boss Talk podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Ramsey. In this episode, I'll be sharing how live streaming can help creative brands. That's right. If you are not using live streaming to brand your business, your service, your product, then you're completely missing out. Within this last year, I added live streaming via Facebook and Instagram to my marketing mix, and it made a tremendous difference. So if you're interested in hearing more about how live streaming can increase your overall brand awareness, then please keep listening. You're listening to Indie Boss Talk Podcast. So I'm going to jump right into live streaming and kind of my experience with live streaming. I first started live streaming in 2015 with an app that is actually no longer in existence. But that app had quickly become my favorite way to connect and to engage. And it was just a really great way to organically grow my social media following. People asked, early on during that time, if I was paying for followers or what I was doing. And it was really just utilizing that particular platform to encourage people to go to my Facebook pages, go to my Facebook. At the time, I had a Facebook group. Also, I was leading them to the blog. I was leading them to my Twitter, and it kind of just began to shape my community and kind of was where I found my voice and what I actually wanted to share via social media. And it really just helped to be a amazing tool, and it's been a really innovative tool at that. I want to share just a couple of facts that I was able to gather, and I will share that these actually came from a telescope.tv article that I found on live streaming via Facebook, because now my chosen platform to live stream on, where I get the most engagement, is oftentimes Facebook. Instagram is continuing to grow. It's continuing to increase as far as engagement, as far as just people connecting with me in that way. I have a lot of followers, but I would definitely say that Facebook has been the platform where I see the most growth and the most engagement. So the telescope.tv article, this was from 2017. It says that the time spent on live videos on Facebook is a little over 30 minutes versus a little over 2 minutes for non-live videos. And then when we look at engagement rates, it's about over 4%, just a little bit over 4%. And for non-live, it's a little over 2%. And then 40% of total views on Facebook is driven by people sharing the video, but not from the actual post itself. Okay. Then 5% of Facebook Lives happens in groups, and that represents 20% of group members' time on Facebook. And then finally, The last fact that I was able to find from the telescope.tv article is that 1 out of 5 videos on Facebook is live. I think that that is very, very compelling evidence to encourage us all to incorporate this into our brands. And I want to get into the first reason why you should be live streaming. And my first reason is that it gives you the ability to add your 2 cents to a trending topic. And with the increasing popularity of social media as a means to communicate to the world, we can see more and more people are taking video as a way of chiming in on current news. And for you, this might be the Black Lives Matter movement. It might be the presidential race or politics. All the reasons why Fetty Wap has no place in hip hop culture, or the latest fashion trend, or the Golden Globes, or the Grammys. It's as simple as pressing the broadcast button on your app on your phone, or pressing that go live button on your desktop or your tablet or your iPad. And then it's just go time. Number 2 reason why is you're able to share how you do and what it is you do and the process. And I remember pulling out my iPhone. It was an iPhone 4 at the time for the first time. And I played a beat outside of an open mic I was hosting. During the intermission, I shared this new beat that I made, and pretty soon 1 person became 3, and then 3 became a small crowd fascinated with this beat I made on the phone. And so the point of that story was what a lot of people wait to do in studio, I always have at my fingertips. Now, if you translate that into a live stream, studio sessions are the first things that come to mind as one way to show how you do what you do if you're a creative artist, if you're a musician. Second, if you're like me, it's the best way for you to compose a song. It's just to belt it out and then write it down later on. You can work out your freestyles on live. You can share what you are recording. Like I'm constantly on Facebook Live now, and I'm sharing what I'm working on for my new album, or maybe it's getting ready for the big reveal of your newest project's cover art, and you're meeting with the graphic designer to brainstorm, or maybe it's just showing a little bit of footage from the editing room for your newest video. Sharing how you create the end product is so interesting to people. They love to watch. And though it might be old news to you, or you think it's not that exciting, somebody will likely think the bells and whistles and the meat and potatoes of what's happening behind the curtain are friggin' awesome. So those are my first 2 reasons why, and we're going to come right back after this word from our sponsors with the last 2 reasons. You're listening to Indie Boss Talk. Thanks so much. We'll be right back after this message from our sponsor. Welcome back. So far, we've talked about my first 2 ways that live streaming via Facebook or Instagram or your chosen platform can help you in adding to your creative brand overall, and engagement, and getting shares, and just adding to your brand, your business. The first way was adding your 2 cents to a trending topic. The second way was it's sharing how you do what it is that you do and the process behind it. My third reason is it allows you to get personal. Have you ever thought if they could just see the real me and how I do this epic, they would get it? You can talk about your creative process all day long, but for me, the way I was able to build my following and get engagement and increase the following and get people to do what it is that I wanted them to do, which is download the music and buy tickets to Sip Local KC and just share the music and talk about it and listen to it. The way that I was able to get that was to incorporate video of you all seeing what it is that I do. And whether it's been a live stream from the Megabus on my way to meet a potential client in Chicago or to perform, or the first time I took the road trip to South by Southwest, some days I just felt like talking to you. So I took a walk from the office and I live streamed, asking viewers questions about their opinion of good business. And I've gotten some great insight and clarity from just very, very short 10, 11-minute streams. And sometimes giving your following a peek at your day-to-day is enough to have a fan for life. Okay, my fourth way is embedding on your site, your blog, and other social sites. Okay, probably one of the best things that I could have ever done, and one of the coolest features, was being able to embed the original live streaming platform on my site. I could easily lead people there if they came in late. I could easily just get people to go back and watch. I could, increase views that way. And, the link option on Facebook, if you're not familiar with it, there's a link option on Facebook, there's a link option on Instagram, and you can actually create a blog post around your live stream and encourage people to watch the replay from your social media. And again, that's another way to repurpose your content. I'll talk more about that on another podcast episode, but this allows your viewers to click a link, and that takes them to anywhere on the web. They go to the link, all while still being able to see the broadcast. And Facebook has also another really cool feature. If they want to continue to just listen to you, they can minimize your video as they're watching the replay and still scroll, but they can still hear it. And again, you're still getting that viewership. Let's talk about the final way that it increases your brand. Monetization. You can stream a concert. I do Friday night lives. So many times I'll do these Friday night lives, and instead of people paying for a ticket, I've encouraged them to go and download the music, go download the single. I'm able to place links up above it, and also live streaming if I'm not singing live and I'm just talking about Sip Local KC, I'm talking about the nonprofit that we've partnered with. This is a great way for them to gain insight. Maybe it's a Q&A with the president or the founder of the organization that I've partnered with. Maybe it's someone on co-hosting with me, sharing their expertise. But it's a wonderful way for you to lead people to whatever your brand's offering is, or your product or your service that coincides with what you're talking about in that moment. I was pleasantly surprised the first time that it happened. I decided that I was going to live stream every other day when I was leading up to the Sip Local KC launch. And when I tell you, without fail, I could see the money coming in. I could see the ticket sales as they were happening. I could see people pre-ordering Sip Local KC shirts that did not even exist in print in person yet. I could see them as they were purchasing them. And that's the best feeling in the world, to know that you connect and to know that, people are supporting. And it encourages you to do it again and again and again. And let me tell you, like, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like the way that I look on camera. It took me until last year, 2018, to do a photo shoot. The last photo shoot I did was for the release of my first studio project, the Lady Gun EP. That was in 2012. So it took me that many years to do a photo shoot because of the feeling that I get and the anxiety that I feel. But my goal has been, since there has been a TED Talk, that I want to have a TED Talk. I knew that this was something that, I'd get over and get past the more that I did it. Because that's what I encourage my clients to do with anything that they're apprehensive or have anxiety about. And it's the same for me. I'm not a superhero. I don't have these dynamic powers that make me exempt from, the same things that you all get anxiety about or that you're trying for the first time. It takes practice. I can't tell you how many times I have went over and over and over this very episode just to publish it and just to feel comfortable enough and that it's that it's good enough to publish it. And with time it'll get easier and easier, but the one thing that I do encourage you to understand is to just get started. If you just get started today and you don't delay it till tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day, then you can, on the next day, work on it more and get better and better and better at it. You could have never made me believe that I would have a podcast where people are actually paying me to advertise, like on the blog, on the podcast, in various forms of media. Like I've had people work with me and ask me if they can work with me, and I know what I'm saying is important, but at the same time, it's just continuing to humble me and be a blessing that I never could have imagined a decade ago. I never could have imagined that I would be able to do this. I can sing all day long in front of hundreds of people. I could do that. But when it comes to speaking, whether you're right here in front of me or you're not, I'm picking apart every inflection in my voice. I'm picking apart every time I say and that's just something, again, that with time I'll get through it. I'll get better. I won't worry so much about it. But it was actually last year when I finally just shook off all of my apprehensiveness and anxiety about my speaking voice and all of the many times that I say to take to live stream and begin to promote not only my podcast, but my blog and my music, singing live and talking to people in between the songs and sharing what I was writing, sharing my poetry, which is something that I literally do once in a blue moon. And this all surrounds what I knew in me I wanted to do, which is ultimately start this podcast and not, shy away from it after a couple of episodes and abandon it because I'm afraid. And I was watching Dave Anderson, aka the Business Bully, and he was talking to someone on his weekly live stream that he would do on Instagram Live. And he was so fluid. He dropped so many jewels. And, he just is a wealth of knowledge, honestly. And he was talking to authors at the time, and he was like, if you are not promoting your book before it's even finished, if you're not reading excerpts of your book, if you're not going live to talk about your book, if you're not picking content from your book and sharing it and elaborating on it and allowing people to ask you questions, then what are you doing? You're not really trying to sell any books. And Indie Boss Talk was born. This podcast was actually born just because I am due to release a workbook and a book called the Indie Boss Book and the Indie Boss Workbook. And I was just terrified. Like I said, I can get on stage, I can sing for an hour and be fine. But even speaking during my concerts, it's just something that I shied away from. Everybody that has been watching my lives over the last year has told me, you know, you have a great speaking voice, or I love the way you speak, and that's just not what I'm hearing. I'm not hearing the same thing that those people are hearing. But what has really helped me in preparing for each podcast, I have the exact same template that I'm going to put into the workbook. This is kind of like a last minute addition to the workbook for podcasting. Create your outline of your show. There's just a couple of essentials that you have to have with creating your podcast or your live stream. And that's just an outline. If you create 3 points that you want people to be able to take away, so you start with your 3 takeaways, and from that you compose your points that you're going to discuss during the live stream. I think live streams are great when they're about, 10 minutes or less. People's attention spans are super short. We are in the age of, they want to get the meat and potatoes and they want to go on and they want to watch the next live, or they want to get off of that platform and go to the next platform and see what's over there. So you have to be really, really focused in your outline and your notes, and just, kind of do the quick and dirty when it comes to live streaming. If you are giving people updates, talk about what has happened in that last 24 hours. For me, with Sip Local, I had timelines where if you got early bird tickets, the tickets were a certain price. So I went on to let people know. During that first week, it was every night, and I'm letting people know how many of that certain amount of tickets that are designated for pre-sale are left, how many I have available, the first time I got on. And then the second week, I'm letting them know, you only have a few more days. That final day, and I'm just giving for instances, I'm skipping over some days, but that final day, I'm letting them know, okay, at the stroke of midnight, the prices are going up. And I kid you not, it blew my mind that first week that I did the live streaming consistently, which was actually the second week of ticket sales for Sip Local before the prices raised. While I was on Facebook Live, sitting in my kitchen at the time, I'm streaming to Facebook on my laptop, I'm streaming to Instagram Live. I could literally see the notifications coming in that people were purchasing tickets. And another example, with the book, it was much easier. I'm reading a couple of pages of the book. I began to show people and share the habit tracker from the Indie Boss Workbook, which is now available on avabellasindyblog.com. If you just look on the right sidebar, you can get your copy of that. Just click on the image and you'll get your copy instantly. But when I began to show people and share with them, from the first chapter, a couple of pages of how the book begins, a couple of tips from the chapters that followed. I've done it a total of 3 times, and each and every time I just get notifications and dings that people are actually pre-ordering a book that has not went to print yet. And it blew my mind, over again, because Sip Local KC tickets are one thing. People are tasting wine at that, that first event. It was, 15, then it raised to 25, then the tickets went up to $30, and it just continued to blow my mind over and over again that this was a new experience. But because I had done a great job of connecting and engaging and answering questions, I think even one night I went over the frequently asked questions page. Yes, it's on Eventbrite where the tickets are. And yes, I even posted it to the Sip Local KC page so they could read it for themselves, but they want an opportunity to dialogue. And, also just going on every day gave me greater insight as to what I needed to post on the frequently asked questions, but some people hadn't gotten there yet. So it was just an opportunity for me to, cut down as much confusion as possible before the night of the event. If I can tell you where to park ahead of time, if I can tell you which lots cost what, then you're going to come there not only and perhaps pay at the door if you don't get paid until that day. There's just so many ways that live streaming has helped. The day of the event, I was live streaming behind the scenes as, we were getting set up, and the host, Fox 4 Sean Edwards, had just arrived, and Lindsay from the winery, KC Wineworks, had arrived, and the band Project 71 was setting up. People were so hype about it that they were, I'm on my way. They're watching the lives, and they're telling me that they're on their way, and they're pulling up outside, and they want to be on the live stream as well. So, they're trying to get there. So, because you've created a sense of urgency and you've engaged them throughout the process. But, live streaming not only has increased my overall brand awareness, but it has increased ticket sales, book sales, the way that I get clients and attract clients. It has done so much for my brand as an artist, as a business owner. It has done so much, because how much easier is it for people to see what I actually do? How much easier, once they see that, is it for them to be like, hey, I want you to do that for me, for my launch, for my business. It's so much easier. And I just, I don't want this to be a super long episode. I do, in the coming weeks, I do want to share how I am creating the tools and the back end and what I'm using. So not essentially creating tools, but the tools that I'm utilizing to create the platform and the automation of it all. And so I'll be coming back over the next 3 weeks. Remember, we're on every Tuesday. So I'm going to be sharing with you, and then you'll always be able to go to AvaBella's Indie blog and click on the link for the episode. It should be right at the top for you to see it. This is episode 6. So you'll just look for episode 6, live streaming leveled up my brand. You'll be able to see the Statista numbers I was able to pull for the number of monthly active Facebook users. There's a nice graph that I was able to find, as well as the telescope.tv article that I referenced in this episode. I have a link there for you to find it. And if there's anything that you want to go back and listen to, you'll also be able to click to listen directly from the blog. So if you ever miss it or you can't open up your app, know that each episode is going to be on avabellasindyblog.com. I do have an announcement coming soon because I think Indie Boss Talk and Indie Boss Life and the Indie Boss book may be outgrowing AvaBella's Indie blog, but you all will always be able to get to it from the blog. I'll just say that. But there's a surprise coming soon. So you all, I hope that this has been another informative and useful episode for you. But yes, live streaming has been essential for my brand. And, I don't think I can move forward and, level up and go to the next phase without it. I'm going to continue to use both Facebook and Instagram. If they come out with something else, I might try it, but Facebook is where it's at. And we're going to talk more about how you can actually monetize that live component of Facebook in a coming episode. So make sure that you're subscribed. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so at anchor.fm/IndieBossTalk/support. And again, to download your Indie Boss Habit Tracker, which is just going to give you a glimpse of the workbook, go to the sidebar on avabellasindyblog.com. All of these links will be in the notes for the show at anchor.fm/IndieBossTalk. So check us out there. That is all I have for you tonight. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you all next Tuesday. Remember, there's an art to everything. Go forth and be great. Bye-bye.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.